Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another cleaning video of a paintball marker. I used this about 2 weeks ago, this marker. And here it is. This is my technically second marker I've ever owned. This has had different iterations, I guess, because I've put upgrades and things on it, but it's always been the same marker basically. But here's the reveal. This shroud actually goes on. So this is a WGP Autococker. It's an outcast body. How this marker originally started was with it was a 2000 Autococker, so it was a right feed off the side, and not the vertical like all markers are now. And it was all bone stock, and then over the years I have upgraded it. I've left some of the original aftermarket parts I put on it, just for no real reason, nostalgia I guess. But I did recently find my old shroud from my 2000 Autococker, WGP Autococker, because these used to come with those markers, I think up until probably 2003. And then I modified it to fit over the solenoid of the E-blade. This is an E-blade 1 frame with a samurai trigger. The E-blade chrome samurai trigger. It was like thin. And then I have Ego hybrid contract killer grips. But yeah, here we're gonna just get into it and then we'll start cleaning it up. So this shroud was originally from my 2000 Autococker, which was this Autococker besides the body. But I don't know, we can see in here, I've modified it. I've basically cut off the entire lip. This side has the lip here. I cut off this entire lip on this whole side, that used to go fit tightly around the back block. I'm sorry, the front block. And I have dremeled that off and then reapplied the neoprene, so they'll fit over the E-blade solenoid. But yeah, so now it goes over nicely. It's loose, but once you put a barrel in, then it's tight. You could run and this will not fall off. So yeah, so we'll be cleaning this, and just to kind of go over it, I have an Eclipse RAM, Eclipse QEVs, WGP LPR. This is like the standard one that came on the 2004 Autococker, the Pro Stock, the Pro Stock, the standard Autococker. Then they had this like the Super Stock that had the E-blade, and then it originally had like they started coming out with the one that had like the War frame or something like that. But yeah, so then and then the chrome solenoid cover for the E-blade itself. This is a Sidewinder, aka regulator. It's chrome, but then I put some tape around here and it actually ripped some of the plating off there, so you can see that. But I just never replaced it or anything like that. There's no reason. And then again, like the Samurai E-blade trigger, chrome E-blade trigger. These are Ego hybrid contract killer grips, where I put, you can kind of see there's like a foam on each side that's kind of starting to degrade, but it's since 2004, so it's held up pretty good. To put the spacing, since there's no space for the grips, and then it just kind of goes over the like the sear solenoid there, or the hammer solenoid for the trigger to release the hammer. And This is a System X on-off, nickel plated, and this is their rail as well that came with it. Steel braided hosing, will never leak, never had any issues with it. This is a System X caulking rod, original beaver tail from my 2000 Autococker. This didn't have a clamping feed neck. I had sent it to a company and they pressed a new one in. It was a while ago. So we have a clamping feed neck on it now, so that's awesome. And also have the AKA bolt in here, the lightning bolt, and then a Delrin pin. The back block is original, body is all original. I obviously did drill it for the eyes, or the eye. I have an issue with my detent, gets kind of loose, so I'm going to try and fix that. But other than that, it's pretty much just a clean job. I do have a sci-fi board in here, and I last played with this in 10.2 NXL mode, and it's on one of the videos. You can see I'm using it when I played at Capitol Edge Paintball Park in Sacramento. But you can hear the ramp kick in. It worked great that day. But yeah, I don't use it very often. But once I got the sci-fi board in there, now I can use it like during regular tournament play and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is my Autococker. I actually have two of them. One's a half block, but this is like my original. This has the valve in it still from the 2000 Autococker released by WGP. It's like a brass valve in there. But yeah, I thought about getting the one from AKA, but it's not a big deal. It's not worth it to me to have to take it all apart and everything. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the cleaning of this marker. It's not really dirty a whole lot. I just pretty much do like a wipe off, and I'll like kind of tighten everything up on it. Like the caulking rod will get loose, so I just kind of like get pliers and crank it a little, and it'll stay in there, because I don't adjust my velocity from here. I do it from the sidewinder, because it's just like little increments and it'll change. But yeah, the bolt, it's got some, like, I guess like dirty grease on there or something. Not grease, but like, I don't know, whatever's in the wear from the internal of the body. Rub that really good. But I've had this bolt for a way long time too. I'd say from 2004. In 2004 is when, like I said, I replaced all this. I had the E-blade already, but I put this ram, the QEVs, the LPR, the Sidewinder. Other than that, it's been, and the bolt, the AK bolt. But other than that, it's been about the same. It's still the original ball detent, which you can see is turning brass colored. But I like to just keep it original. I don't use it too often. But when I do, we make sure it's ripping. So wipe the bolt off really well. I tend to wipe off all threads of anything that I can. They'll get dirty, so I just wipe them off. This is a WGP Delrin bolt pin. I originally back in like 2004 or 5, I was going to get the CCM Delrin back block, but it didn't match with the body, and I didn't like that. If I mentioned it or not, this is an Outcast WGP body, not Nightcast. The Nightcasts were like half and half, where like the anodizing was like shiny polished up on the half of the body, and then the bottom half was dust matte color. But yeah, so then that's what I stick with, the all original for the most part. But yeah, so let's go ahead. There's a battery in here. I'm gonna get that out. And I personally like the E-Blade 1 frame better than the 2. You can adjust the magnet. I don't think you can actually in the E2 frame. And what's nice, which Eclipse doesn't do it in their guns or their markers anymore. I don't know if I never had a CS2, but it might be one of the last versions of the marker of the board where the trigger actually passes through the optical. I like the optical because then you can adjust the spring or the magnet of the frame, and then it just kind of makes it a snappy trigger. It really doesn't matter these days. You know, you're in ramp, you're just pulling the trigger. But I grew up with a snappy trigger, and my 2008 Ego I used to have had a real snappy trigger, so it's just kind of a nostalgic thing to me. I like that. But I have like 16 markers that all have a different form of a trigger. Micro switch, like CS1 uses this, but it's not as snappy of a trigger. And then the old school guns, like I mean, besides this, AK Viking, AK Excalibur, they have the micro switch. Any of the new Planet Eclipse guns have the micro switch. So my both 180s, LV2 has that. My MacDev XDR has a micro switch. So it is what it is. This is just like a preference thing. It really doesn't matter. But we'll just get that battery out of there. You can see here, this is like some type of like double stick foam that I used back then just to make that thickness. And you can see it's got the 20-year kind of wear on it, which is pretty good for 20 years. Oops. Make sure that stays in there. But then I store all my markers without a battery in them, so let's pull that battery out. Put these grip screws back in. I have a sci-fi board on the way for my half-block cocker, which will be cool when that comes. I'll probably do a video installing that. Not that it'd be like a big deal, but it's always cool to see that kind of thing. There is some gunk up in there, whatever that is. Just use a little dental pick there to kind of get that, and then we'll use some air. Which air is about empty. I do need to figure out something about the ball detent. Because when I was playing, it actually backed out. It unscrewed, as you can see in my prior video of playing with this marker. It fell out, and I had to find it and screw it back in, and then keep going. But so I gotta do something about that. Maybe like a little O-ring, probably on there. Threads look kind of worn or something in there, but they shouldn't be, or at least not that bad, because it doesn't, it just sits in there. But yeah, there's not, if you don't get shot in your markers, there's not a whole lot to do for cleaning. You wipe them off. The problem with one of these, like old school markers, is like all these little nooks that have, like, where they can get dirt and paint and stuff. So I am going to pop out take off the eye cover just to kind of polish the eye a little. I had no issues with it, but I like to do a thorough clean job. It's kind of hard to see. Let's see if we can get close. Yeah, like there, like on the back of the eye, there's liquid electrical tape I put on there like 20 years ago too. So that's worked out really well, because paint would get there if you got shot there or whatever. It would short the eye, and then your eye wouldn't work. So pop that off just to clean in that hole. Drilled this myself. Well, my dad back then. We have the matching marker, except he has a lot of black parts and I have chrome. But other than that, it's the same marker. And he has the E-tube frame, but yeah. So clean that off best we can. And then I'm going to run a swab through here. I always twist as I go through. Kind of gives it a little buff polish as it goes. It wasn't dirty or anything, but it just gets any oil out of there. Oil and dirt. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see some breech wear in there from the years. But let's just pop the eye back in. I cut that screw a long time ago, so it can only go, well, it only goes in as far as it goes, but like the older ones, if you didn't cut the screw, it would push all the way through and then would hit the bolt. And if you didn't know, it either, if your bolt was out, your bolt wouldn't go in, and if it was in, it'd scratch the hell out of it, put big gouge in it if it was in when it came back. But I don't have that issue because I cut the screw. Let's see. But yeah, not a whole lot to clean on this. It's really just kind of get all the nooks and crannies kind of cleaned out there. I don't even know how old your body when the Nightcast came out, or the Outcast. There's not very many like scratches or anything on it. There's like a little one right here on the vertical ASA, and then on this side there's a little one. I remember doing that one with like the edge of a wrench, an Allen wrench. I forget. I don't know what I was doing, but it nicked it a little bit there or whatever. But it's in pretty good shape for how old it is. I could always re-anno it if I wanted to too, but like I said, I like to keep it as close as I originally had it back then, so I don't change anything on it, and it works fine, other than ball detent popping out. This is what I mentioned earlier, the System X cocking rod. Enemy was a marker I had too. It was a piece of shit. It was a clone of an Intimidator. It shot really nice, but it just leaked all to hell. You basically had to use Intimidator parts to fix it and replace. But yeah, this is a System X cocking rod, and it had the little notch on there so you could actually turn your velocity with it. You would unscrew it, pull it out to it catch, and then you could turn your velocity. My like IVG thing in there, I put like Teflon or something in there because it would back out from the vibration, and so it's too tight to be able to do it with this. But I don't change my velocity with this any longer. Haven't done that in a long time. I just use a Sidewinder, and Sidewinders are so sensitive. It's just like little tweaks, and you can get really close to where you need it at for velocity wise with little adjustment. But we'll get that back in there. I'm going to kind of crank down the cocking rod just a little with pliers. Because like I said, when I was playing, it was backing out. So there's one thing that was backing out, the detent was falling out, but I was still able to play the point, shoot people, whatever. So it worked out well. But we'll get the kind of clean the inside of the solenoid, or not the inside, but like in between here, all the three-way part. Or pneumatics, I guess. There's no three-way. It's the solenoid is the three-way. And this almost matches. I think this is like nickel plated. This is like chrome plated, but then this is like nickel plated as well. So it's like it's all silver, but up close this has more like a silverish bluish tint, and this has more like a bronzish silverish tint, but not a big deal. Get all these little grooves on the on-off knob here. Yeah, this thing's massive, this on-off. Like, now, not sure why the camera just stopped there, but we'll just keep going. But yeah, that's clean. Wipe this off. Q-tip on the back of the trigger. It's a little dirty back there. Do a little air spray here. But yeah, for the most part, it's super simple because one, I didn't get shot in it, so there wasn't like a whole lot of, oh, I'm gonna have to clean this and gut that out apart and everything. But then, you know, older guns, you just oil them. Basically, there's not all that lube you don't have to do. You don't take the rag apart. So it's pretty fast on this one. There's a little something down here. But yeah, let's see. The bolt, geez, these are like original, probably the original O-rings that came on the bolt. Huh. This is Delrin. Usually self-lubricating, or you don't have to lube it at all. But I always do just put a little drop on like the wear and tear of where the scratches are, and then on these O-rings. And then I just kind of rub it in the whole thing. It will not swell, make the Delrin swell, because this is synthetic. There are some old oils or non-synthetics that will like seep into the plastics or Delrin and cause the some swelling, but not for this. And for the most part, I'll just do like a little coating and then kind of wipe off the excess. Just kind of keeps it nice and shiny, but also the O-rings lubed up. Do one more time. Kind of like rub it in, and then a quick like boom, wipe off. So it still has a nice coating on there, but I took it off, or I wipe off the excess. Delrin pin back in, and let's see if these pliers will do the trick. I usually just like I said, do a little crank. And they're not really doing the trick. So I don't have another pair in here. Oh, they might have, because that's hard to undo now. So we'll just crank it one more time and then leave it be. And then as it goes for the baldy tint, there's some stuff down on the feed neck a little bit. I was thinking about Loctiting it in. But then I thought that might be an issue. So what I'm gonna try and do is probably an O-ring on here, and just see how that does. Little O-ring or little oil on the threads, it makes this go in a lot easier. One thing I should do, or no, I don't have to do that. I always put a few drops of oil in my ASA on all my markers to keep like the O-ring on the pin in there lubricated, but then also kind of get through the marker. A few drops to go through the rag and all, you know, through the valve, all that stuff kind of keeps it all oiled and lubed up. I even do that on the newer markers, like my 180s and my LB2, to get into the solenoid a little bit, or I'll actually take the solenoid apart to do that, but just kind of keep a little in there to keep things lubed up. I don't like using grease in my regulators. As I mentioned before in other videos, the climate in where I live, hot, cold, everything in between. So sometimes if the grease is in there, it gets too cold or whatever, it could affect the way it works, but the oil always seems to work. No issues with that. Grease sometimes will get cold and then will affect my velocity, so I just leave it alone. But that's what I do. Everyone else do whatever they do, and it works for them. And yeah, so then, like I said, this is pretty clean. I'm going to put an O-ring on here to see if that will work. Let's see. I have this thing with all the O-rings numbered, and then like LV1 kit, which actually works great for most Planet Eclipse markers, and some other like spool seal for the CS1. Yeah, just a lot of O-rings in here for a majority of the markers I own. So let's see. It doesn't have to be a very big one or very thick. Which these all seem pretty pretty thick. I wonder if like this one maybe. Or so that was from here. What is that? Number 9, and then number 9 NBR70 and number 9 NBR70 have the same ones in this 2 different spots, and then maybe a number 8. Let's see. So let's see. This one's number 9. And this one's number 8. Be a little bit of a stretch, but that's what I want it to do, to stretch over so that it gets a little thinner. It'd be a little hard though. Let's see. There we go. So that one's stretched over. Might want to use the other one though. I think that's gonna work. I don't have any wrenches in here, which is weird. Let me try one other thing though. I want to see, maybe I could fit this little one on there, and then it'll be it will be a little thinner. Probably gonna stab myself with this dental pick. Anyone watch the NXL? Unfortunate for Dynasty. Boys in blue. We'll get them next time. Let's bring it home strong for World Cup, huh? Try not to stab myself. There we go. Well, that was a number 9. This was an 8. This is probably gonna be hard to stretch over, though. It's possible, but I think the 8 would work a lot better if I can stretch it. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. Almost. Well, let me pause the video, see if I can stretch this over so you don't sit here and watch me do this for 10 or 15 minutes, and then come back. Be right back. All right, we're back. I put the smaller O-ring on there. It's gonna be hard to see, but that smaller O-ring of the 2 I had over here, I put it on. It was a little bit of a struggle, but got it on there. And we'll try this first, otherwise I'm gonna Loctite this in with like the whatever, like the weakest Loctite it is. I'll crank it down the best I can with my hand, and then just give it a little with the wrench. Be very careful not to go all the way down against the body. You'll scratch your body. That's kind of, I think, what's happened here before, or it's just like normal wear. But like that. And you want to go too tight because then your bolt won't move, but tight enough to where the vibration will not vibrate out. So yeah, it's in there. Smash that O-ring pretty good. We'll do a little more. And that should work pretty well. I can still kind of turn it with my hand, so we'll go a little tighter. Still good. Yeah, I can hear it activating in there, so that's good. I mean, the detent really just keeps you from double feeding, or helps you feed overall. Like when that fell out in that video, you could see me shooting and nothing's coming out of the marker. And then as soon as I put it in and then it started working again, that's really... Let's see, we'll go a little tighter and just see what happens. Just crush that O-ring some so it gets really tight, but that should work. Of course, I'll test it another time when I use it, but I think that's gonna work great. I can't really turn, I can't turn that with my hand, so we'll go like that tight and see what happens from there. But yeah, so we got that. We cranked down the caulking rod, lubed up the bolt, well, a couple drops just to get it nice smooth on there. This moves very smoothly, the back block. I always do put a drop, like a line worth of oil down the ramrod and then move it in and out. That way it keeps the O-rings in there nice. And then open your ASA, and then I do like 3 or 4 drops of oil. That's about 5.5 down in the ASA. So then it'll go through the regs and all that and stay nice and lubricated. There's a little paint in there for the logo, the little emblem, but I think that's gonna work out well. Cool. But yeah, so that is my Autococker with the E-Blade Sci-Fi board. I'll just run through it one more time. It is a Outcast body, original 2000 Autococker Baldy tent, WGP Delrin bolt pin there, aka lightning bolt, System X caulking rod, original beaver tail. I did grind and cut this beaver tail so it fit around the E-Blade frame because it was wider. Hybrid contract killer grips with some foam in between because they're ego grips to fit the actual E-Blade to get around the caulking solenoid there. System X on off with the dovetail, stainless steel braided hose, aka Sidewinder inline regulator, WGP LPR, Planet Eclipse RAM with QEVs, and the E-Blade solenoid with the chrome housing. Oh, and also the E-Blade Eclipse Samurai chrome trigger. So yeah, that's my Autococker, WGP, RIP for them. Not very many companies make an Autococker anymore, if there's very few. But yeah, one day, hopefully, I hope that they'll come back around for some reason, and like Eclipse or someone will come out with the E-Blade 3. Not that it'll be like probably anything different really, because you can get the Sci-Fi board, but I don't know. I just like nostalgia stuff, so I think that'd be really cool if that happened. But yeah. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next cleaning video or playing video or even maybe the wheels video. Thanks.